we say is crypto is a terrible way to invest and spend your money.
We say it, and all.
Well, all right, let's see what they've got to say.
Today.
Look at that first one, George. This is very you.
Thank you. I don't know if that's a compliment, but I'll take it.
Number one.
The first one we say is crypto is a terrible way to invest and spend your money.
We say it, and all.
Well, we're not even 17. We're not even 17 seconds into this out of all the most hated advice. And the first thing they start off with is crypto's bad. Oh boy. Let's see what they have to say first before I get too heated up here. Maybe they'll say something smart and intelligent.
All the crypto. I'm going to say dudes. It's not a lot. I just don't feel like a lot of the women.
I haven't ran into
so,
a lot of women.
A lot of women
Sexist.
Well, I think it's because
the way the
women-
guys do. The guys are like
Women
nuts.
use something called logic a lot, whereas guys are like, it's like a flex.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Crypto.
Now, women have girl math, and so they're not innocent
That's true.
here.
That's true. We
But
can
yeah,
justify some spending.
Crypto, from the very beginning, I was just like scratching my head about crypto, and I thought, well, maybe I'm not dumb enough to understand.
No, very fair. It is a little confusing to understand it at first. I think the whole financial system, to understand Bitcoin in particular, it is kind of changing the whole dynamic of money. So I'll give them a little bit of props there. It is not very easy at first to understand some of this, so kudos there.
And the more I looked into it, the stupider it got. And now on the other side of it, we kind of all know it was a farce.
Just not good.
And the
y'all.
reason is, I'll give you a real reason. Crypto is not based in anything. It's just based on hype. When you
Oh boy, this is gonna be a long video. It's gonna be a tough video. First off, I'm gonna say that this guy's overgeneralization of crypto as an industry is tough. It's so generic because some cryptocurrencies, sure, they've had some pump and dumps, there have been some scams, there's been some awful things. I understand that part. I'm waiting for the particular cryptocurrency coin that he relates to or can say where he's got his information from, because to broadly paint all crypto the same or all crypto as bad, that is just bad faith.
even buy a single share of a company, you're hoping that the company produces more profit and revenue. Whereas crypto is just, I made a coin, this is the coolest, hottest coin, come get my coin. And so it's very multi-level marketing vibes. And so I always joke.
See, okay, so he may be referring to some particular scam, some pump and dumps. I think some of that is fair. Again, let's wait for anything in particular here.
That crypto is just Mary Kay for young men for that reason. Which, no offense to the Mary Kay ladies, okay?
There are some diehard Mary Kay
They're
ladies.
out there, so that's that.
The second thing people just...
See, just overgeneralization. Let's set the record straight. If you do your due diligence into cryptocurrencies, you'll find that not all cryptocurrencies are the same. They come in all sorts of different flavors, all sorts of different sizes, all sorts of different utilities. What I would recommend to people is do your own research, of course. Look at Bitcoin first, get a firm understanding of what it is, why it is, what's going on, and then from there start to understand all of the other coins. Why do I say Bitcoin first? Because Bitcoin was the first. Bitcoin was the one that started off with all of these ideas, and then other groups, other software companies have now come in and expanded on the original idea to have different utilities. So I'm going to start off by saying I think the first question here is a fail on the Ramsey Show's part, and I would recommend to the audience, look into Bitcoin, understand that first. If you don't like it, it's not for everybody. However, to paint the entire sector and the whole thing as not good, or it's for crypto dudes, that's bad faith, unfortunately.
Yeah, they don't care for us on. You shouldn't use credit cards.
Ooh.
We talk about this a lot.
Oh,
And
That
a
one
lot
increasingly is controversial.
yeah, and people, it's because the points and the airline
Yeah.
miles, what they get from it,
100%.
they claim is worth it.
Credit cards, of course, can be difficult if you're not very good at managing your feelings, managing your purchasing decisions. And yes, some people do slip into credit card debt, unfortunately. So if it's not the right thing for you, then don't use it. If you're able to manage some of those purchases well, then absolutely there is benefit to building some credit, and there is some benefit to getting some of the free stuff that the credit card companies will offer.
But when you sit in our seat, we talk to so many people where credit cards are not a blessing. It's not a thing that has helped people. It's actually gotten people into a lot of trouble.
That's true. It can.
And they end up being in a financial position where the credit card company is winning
True.
and they're not winning. And we want you to win. And then you can go through all the, the amount of stuff that doesn't work when it comes to the points and the airline miles, playing the game. You can go through the moral side door of you get these points and you get this cash back and you get the airline miles and everything because other people are not paying off their cards. Banks make their money off of interest. And so they're making all this money off of people that are struggling.
If they really were that big into morality, I would recommend that they look into how banks actually make their money and how much interest the depositor actually gets from the money the bank makes, and take the moral high ground into the whole banking industry. I wouldn't demonize an individual who wants to use credit cards versus the company behind who's offering the credit cards.
And then, reaping the benefits. So it's just a gross, it's a gross
icky
thing all the way around to me. And I'm like, if you have a debit card, just pay for everything in the present and then go pay for your Southwest flight.
And then do these two people not use credit cards at all? They have all their purchases on debit cards? I would find that a little bit shocking, to be honest.
Save
Just
up and
budget
pay
and
for
save
it.
up. It's so much more freeing.
And statistically, what you save by not
Tell me somebody who has budgeted and saved for a new purchase of a new car, or tell me someone who has budgeted and saved for the purchase of their first home.
paying on a credit card, in turn, could actually help you have hundreds of dollars throughout the year to spend on an airline
Yes.
ticket that you pay for.
And I'm going to call out all the Ramsey fans who they're what we call ish, where they go, I did everything, but I still have my credit card. I pay it off every month, Rachel, so I'm fine.
Yep.
And I've convinced a whole bunch of people to try a 30-day credit card challenge where they just
I saw this, George.
put it in a block of ice, and we're starting to get the results. And there was an interesting, someone just said this. I thought it was interesting. They said, a few months ago, I decided to ditch the Apple Card and just use the money I have. I just wanted to try it out. They said, I've definitely seen a noticeable reduction in my spending, and I've created more margin in my budget for savings. And they said, it's just the little things. There's something about checking my balance, seeing it instantly go down after a purchase that really worked to optimize my spending. I go out to lunch less.
That's 100% true. Again, if you're not able to help manage some of the immediate purchasing decisions that you're trying to make, then I do think a debit card might be better for some people. It really comes down to your behavior and your buying habits, and if you're not able to live within your means, then yes, credit card debt is a slippery slope. That is true.
I buy less extra stuff at the grocery store. You just make more intentional decisions. And
when
so
it's your money and you
even if
feel
that's
it.
you're the perfect spender, as I call them.
Yep.
You're still spending more than you would have.
It's true.
All right, next.
Next, save $1,000 emergency funds. People are like,
Oh, yeah.
inflation, 2023. This is the same advice y'all gave in 1993. Shouldn't it change with
That's a good point.
expenses being
That's
higher
true.
and things being more expensive?
That's a big one. And funny enough, when Dave came up with this principle, baby step 1, 30 years ago, $1,000 wasn't enough back then to get the new HVAC system and cover the big.
Then yeah, you should probably change that $1,000 idea. It's probably a mental game, if anything, of, hey, for somebody who's just starting out or somebody who is really in credit card debt to get $1,000, it's probably just some rounded number they started off with. But I think it's fair. You probably should have $2, $3, $4, $5,000, $10,000. What a lot of folks will tell you is that if you were to lose your job, you want to have enough money in the bank to give yourself a little bit of a cushion to find the next job. A lot of financial planners will tell you somewhere between 3 months and 6 months of your month-to-month bills and expenses. So if you spend $5,000 a month, you might want to have $15,000 to $30,000 just sitting in a checking savings CD account for that emergency. It's different for everybody, but I think that's where the general cushion idea emergency fund comes in, is that if you lost your job and the income's not coming in, how many months do you want to be able to try to find that second job or replace that income?
Life emergencies.
Yeah.
And so the principle of it is it's meant to be a starter emergency fund. Dave started this because people were trying to get out of debt, but they'd have these little ankle biters that would knock them back and knock them back. And so the goal is to cover the ankle biters. If you have a big emergency, number one, we want you to have good insurance in place to cover some of that, the health stuff.
Yeah.
And number two, you pause the baby steps, you save up fast, sell stuff, whatever you need to do to cover the expense. Most of these emergencies are not the money's due today or else the
Right.
house is getting foreclosed on.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
So
yeah, the $1,000. It's meant to be a quick step to 30 days or less because we
fair.
want you to get traction. And so much of personal finance is
Right.
behavior change. And
100%.
for some people, they can't even cover a $400 emergency in cash.
Yeah, 4 out of 10 people have zero in savings.
That's right.
true.
What we found.
So even $1,000 may feel like an uphill battle, but when you do it quickly and you have it and then you can move on to paying off debt, that's what it's there for. It's for the quick win. It's for the ankle biter stuff that comes up in order to pay off the debt, which leads us to number 4, George. Pay off your debt, smallest amount to largest amount, regardless of interest rates.
This is where the math nerds show up.
all the
I like
math
this one.
nerds
This
are
one
like,
makes sense.
why in the heck would you not pay off the 25% credit card versus
They're like, well,
the...
you'll save $300 in interest, Rachel, if you pay off the highest interest first. That's so...
Now, this one does make sense to me. Again, a lot of thing with money is about behavior. It's about more the psychology of it. So the idea, if you've got 5 different credit cards, they all have a balance. The idea is you could pay them all off over time if you just make minimum payments. Makes sense. But really, it's the mental win that you get by paying off the smallest one first and then doing what they call as the debt snowball effect. So you pay off you have a minimum payment on everything except for one, the smallest one. You pay that one off first, and then that money that you use to pay off that one, you use that to pay off the second one, and then the third. And so mentally, it's a good way for you to feel like you're slowly digging out of debt because you're paying off these credit cards one at a time. I do see this happening from time to time in different blogs and podcasts where people have used that method and it has worked. So I tend to agree with that. And the couple extra bucks you save on interest, I think over time it's easier to stick with the habit of paying it off if you are making those payments and paying off the credit card kind of one card at a time. So I tend to agree with that idea.
dumb. And I'm like, or you could have paid 0 in interest if you never went into debt. So why are we having this theoretical
Zing.
discussion?
Yeah.
It's so silly.
But the reason we do it, again, is what I was saying earlier, is these quick wins. And when you pay off that smallest debt,
That's
even
fair.
if it's a $400 credit card bill that's been just like laying around, right? You pay it off, you start to actually win, and you start to feel like, oh my gosh, I can do this. And so it's a powerful motivator.
yeah, getting out of debt is way more about hope and momentum and
guess
progress than
the
it is
next one
about
about life
mathematical interest. And we've done the math. The amount is negligible about how much you're really going to save
Right.
by doing the avalanche. And I just have not seen people come in droves saying, Rachel, I did the debt avalanche, and that's why we got out of debt. It's likely you'll stay in debt longer or give up or fall off the wagon if you don't see that progress
Yep.
fast.
All right, last but not least, if crypto was yours, George, I feel like this is mine. Married couples to combine accounts. You would think that I just told you
You got 3 heads, Rachel, telling us to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like, it like, people get so mad. My last 2...
Where's the anger coming
on
from?
Instagram, George, the last 2 reels I've done about this, over like 3 million views each. And
This one's interesting, new to me. Generally speaking, I'd say yes. I think if you tend to join everything together, it probably adds for a bit more transparency. So I think it makes sense on its face, where if everyone's got separate accounts, you don't really know what's going on, and then all of a sudden, hey, your spouse says, by the way, I'm 30 grand in debt and I have maxed out on my credit cards. I don't know how often that happens. I'm not in the weeds when it comes to some of these couples who pay off the debt. So I think in theory it makes sense. I haven't done too much digging into if it's better or worse, but I tend to agree. Married couples tend to have things together and probably should, again, because you are a family unit and your money should be based on what the unit needs versus what individuals need. So let's see what they have to say, but I think at its face, I tend to agree with this as well.
And all in the comments, they're like, this woman says a woman. Says a woman.
Says a woman?
That's what a lot of them say. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Can I go out on a
what?
limb and say those guys are single?
And I'm like, yes.
Just going to
But
say
like,
that out loud.
Oh, man. People get pissed about this.
Well, they see joint bank accounts as she's going to take you to the cleaners. That's the very toxic mentality
Yes.
that some
And
guys out there
and
have.
I always have
Then don't marry that kind of person.
the asterisk, you guys. And on the show, we do this. And we've actually had callers that call in with situations, and we tell them the opposite of this advice. If there's an abuse situation, if there's an addiction that's not being addressed, like if there are things that you have to do to keep yourself safe, absolutely. Like, absolutely. I am not against that. But if you're just the married couple out there, both bringing in an income, but
My money and her money.
She pays these bills, I pay these. You go on vacation, they
Nope.
get the hotel,
Nope.
you get the food. I mean, you're roommates. You are acting like you're roommates.
Uh-oh.
And it's never just about the money. It's never just about the account. It's the idea that you actually don't see yourself fully as a team and don't fully trust your spouse. And if that is you, then you need to ask, like, okay, why is that? Because there's probably going to be other issues going on that are going to come up in other parts of your marriage. So we can go on and on about this, y'all. But I'm telling you, people that win with money when you're married, you see yourself as a team. You win faster. And I think your marriage becomes better. So many people have stood on this stage, George, to scream their debt free.
Looks like that's the end of this. I would agree with that last one there. I think it started off pretty rocky with the whole crypto thing. Very generic in their responses. But toward the end, I think I agree with a couple things that they said. A few things that they didn't mention here was term insurance versus permanent insurance. I would love to see their 2 cents on that. And the other thing is just any random stock mutual fund of getting 12% a year. I think that is outrageous. And I'll put together a video on them saying that at some point. But boy, mutual funds are not all created the same. ETFs, mutual funds, stock funds, bond funds, commodity funds, you got to do your due diligence and your research into all that kind of stuff. But boy, I would be curious what they thought of just randomly picking some fund to invest your money in. Well, thank you so much for taking a listen here again for some of the commentary I've got on some of these folks. As always, I'm going to tell you today, stay informed, stay inquisitive, stay subscribed for more, and we'll see you tomorrow.